شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Indeed, all praise to Almighty Allah. May His peace and blessings continue to abide with the Prophet, his companions and followers, and all those who are following the Sunnah to the Day of Judgment. You're welcome to yet another early dawn telecast of the Muslim Congress. Today, I'm continuing from where I paused last time. And what I'll be looking at today is under the components of societal security and the causes of its collapse. Today, we are going to look at the causes of the collapse of these components of societal security and what are the effects of all this collapse. Now, the first cause of the collapse of this component, which I mentioned yesterday, these components are 5, like I mentioned yesterday. 1, the preservation of faith, the preservation of life, the preservation of the intellect, the preservation of posterity, and the preservation of wealth. These preservations have collapsed. What were the causes? The causes are what I'll be looking at today. The first cause, which I can mention, is lack of fear of the Creator as the lawgiver, or lack of acceptance that this world in which we live has a Creator, and the Creator has established and made laws for smooth running. There is hardly any human being who does not believe in God. If there are 10 human beings, 10 men, I'm very sure that 7 will say, yes, they believe in a supreme being, that in the world in which we live has a supreme being. Yes. So it's largely shared concept. They believe that the world in which we live has a creator. But the next thing is, does this God, does he make laws for the running of this world? That is where many of us disagree. And largely people believe that, look, we are capable enough to make laws for ourselves, that we don't need to rely on divine laws to live in our life. That in itself, for me, has brought in injustice, because man has his own imperfections. We are full of imperfections. We are full of ambiguities. We are full of errors. And that's why we say to err is human. We make laws. We are not perfect human beings. We have our weaknesses. We have our deficiencies. And that is why we are not in the best condition to make laws. Take, for instance, knowledge. Our human knowledge is very limited. And that is why today we cannot have any human beings or any society of humans making laws that will live till the end of time. But it's only God who has the supreme, who is omnipotent, who is omniscient, that can make laws that will stand the test of time. And that is why the Sharia of Islam is there to serve as the law that will stand the test of time. The laws that will be relevant and be effective regardless of the time. The Quran, the Sharia of Islam, has been there for how many centuries? More than 14 centuries. And yet, it is still relevant. Today, that law is what we are moving towards, whether we like it. Take the case of the COVID pandemic that we are going through today. WHO is profiling as solutions are 3: social distancing, quarantining, and face mask. Yeah, all these things are already there in the Quran. They are already there in the Sharia as to how do you protect yourself against pandemics or epidemics. So lack of the belief that God can make laws for our society is one problem, because the alternative to that is the chaos which we are all going through today. The alternative to acknowledging and accepting that the world in which we live has a creator, and this creator is able to make laws for the smooth running of the world in which we live, is the first cause of the collapse of societal security. And later on I will look at what are the consequences of that. Secondly is lack of appreciation of the essence of life. Many of us don't appreciate the essence of life. Most think that we are only here to eat, drink, and copulate. To eat, drink, and copulate. That we don't have a supreme role to play in this life, or we don't have a supreme mission to fulfill in this life. We are only here to eat and drink like the cattle eat and drink. No. If we fail to appreciate the essence of life, if we fail to see that life in which we have is an abode of trial, it's an abode of trials and tribulations. Allah has created us here to come and test us. In Quran chapter 68, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَهَا تَعَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّارِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Has there not come a time that you, man, was nothing to be mentioned of? We have created you from sperm, لِنَبْتَلِيهِ, so that we can test you. And we have granted you the sight and the hair for you, and the hearing for you to be able to test you. We are testing you. Whatever you are facing today is a trial. Whatever you have is a trial. Whatever you don't have is a trial. So when you appreciate the essence of life, you will be able to ensure that you do not violate the 5 components of societal security. Societal security are 5, as I mentioned. The preservation of faith, the preservation of life, preservation of intellect, preservation of posterity, preservation of wealth. Once you do not know the essence of life, you are going to violate them. When you see that life is for me to gather as much as I can and to show off, when you think life is about amassing wealth and being on top of the rest of mankind, then you will not appreciate the essence of life. So the third cause of the collapse of the societal security is lack of belief in the hereafter. Many of us think that whenever we die, everything ends here. No. Because life will be meaningless if there is no accountability in the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this life, this world in which we live. He did not just go and sit in one corner and be looking at what is happening. No. Everything follows its order. There is individual responsibility. وَكُلُّمْ آتِيهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا. You will all account before Allah individually. And Allah will test you based on what He has given you. What He has not given you, He will not try you. And when you watch any movie, you always see the triumph of truth over falsehood. Whether it be the film produced by Africans, by Nigerians, by Chinese, by Americans, by the Indians, you always see the triumph of truth over falsehood. And that is a clear signpost that life in itself has an end, and there will be accountability. Because today in the world in which we live, a lot of injustices are taking place. A lot of atrocities are taking place. The question is, are people just going to go scot-free? Common sense tells you that is not going to be. You will pay for your actions. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. The bearer of a burden will not carry the burden of another one. The father will not bear the burden of the child. The child will not bear the burden of the father. Everybody will bear his own burden. You will carry your own burden. And that is what makes life meaningful. That my father is pious. If I'm not pious, it's not going to benefit me. So you must see life in a way by, look, there is going to be accountability. I'm going to account for my actions in the hereafter. Allah has been so kind, so clear, so merciful, that He even gives us the scenarios of the last day. What is going to happen? He has already shown us. What will happen? What will be the abode of the righteous? And what will be the abode of the evil ones? Very clear. So once you don't believe in that, you think whatever you do now here is you have gone scot-free, then you will be able to violate the components of societal security. You will not care for other person's life. You will amass wealth through any conceivable means, and you will squander the money anyhow you like. You will take human lives. You will oppress the poor. You will do as you like. No, you can't do as you like. Life has a purpose. Life has a controller. Life has a disposer of affairs. Life has a creator. Life has a judge that is going to judge all of us. So you cannot go scot-free. The Yorubas will say, "Àṣepamọ́ ló wà, kò sáṣegbé." You can't go scot-free with your crime. If you have not been arrested and apprehended in this life, you will be apprehended on the last day. And you will face the consequence of your action. You know? La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. What we have not given you, we will not ask you. That's how just Allah is. Then, the worship of materialism. By the time we begin to worship materialism, anything physical is what we worship. We don't value spiritual growth. We don't value spiritual upliftment. We only behave like animals. Look at it. The whole world today is a jungle, like a jungle. The oppressed, the powerful ones, oppressing the weaker ones. And they go scot-free with it. In the United Nations itself, you don't get justice. There, everybody is helpless. Once you belong to the 5 members of the Security Council, there's nothing you cannot do. Look at what is happening in Palestine. Look at what is happening in Syria. Look at what is happening in the rest of the world, in Myanmar. Look at what is happening. People are taking the right of others, oppressing them, because of what? To have the things of the world. Alahakum takathur. Once you have unquenchable thirst for the things, for the material things of the world, there is no way you are not going to trample on other people's rights. There is no way you will not commit what we call zulm, injustice, wrongdoing, which God has forbidden. So you will take human life, you will, because you want to make money, you will sell drugs, you will engage in selling drugs, you will engage in selling intoxicants, you engage in selling harmful products to the rest of mankind, taking their lives. You will produce spare parts that are of low quality. Some people will break parts. They don't know, without knowing that they are only buying what would be the cause of their death. Look at what's happening in our society today. Because people worship materialism, they just want to have the things of this world, and they forget about their hereafter. And in their quest to have the things of this world, what do? They join cultism, they take other people's life. And what do you see? The corruption of the soul. The man's soul has been corrupted. Because of what? To have the things of this world. And what are the consequences in our society? Executive lawlessness, legislative rascality, judiciary, miscarriage of justice in our judiciary, attractions of public lives, public offices. People are attracted by what they can amass from public offices, not the services they can give. Self-aggrandizement, nepotism, looting of public treasury with impunity. Political corruption and rigging is what we are going to have. Reign of impunity and absence of accountability. Once you have the money to employ the best lawyers, you can commit any crime. That's what we are having in society today. Reign of impunity, embezzlement of public treasury, outright looting, poor execution of infrastructural projects. Look at our roads. The smallest thing, the easiest thing we can achieve in life, to tar roads, is our biggest headache. How many of our roads are motorable? The version of palliatives, things that are meant for the public, for the general men, will be cornered, diverted by few. Absence of administration of justice. You cannot get justice as at when due. You can see adjournment. What are the roles of our lawyers? Justice, most of the claims are delayed. And low quality of jobs. Look at our artisans, the way they do. What they cannot do, they say they bring it. And when you give to them, what do? They damage your asset, they damage your property. Because of what they want to get. Money. People worship money today. They don't believe in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's now a matter of survival of the fittest. Once there is no faith in Allah, once there is no faith in the concept of accountability in the last day, once there is no faith in the worshiping of Allah as against worshiping of materialism, what we are having in society today is what you will continue to have. And it will be the survival of the fittest. No one will be at peace. There will be social insecurity. And all the evils we have in our society, which are manifestations of all this collapse. Social insecurity, insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, highway robbery and brigandage, cultism, and cyber crimes. Then, lately, ethnic agitations. Why do we have ethnic agitations? It's because people feel socially insecure in the current state of affairs. They want a better thing. And who will this pay at the end of the day? No one will be the better for it. All of us will be worse for it. These are manifestations of one thing. Once we don't believe in Allah, and that this Allah is capable of giving us laws that will order our lives, we don't believe in the hereafter, we don't believe in the essence of life, which is to come and worship Almighty Allah, and we are worshiping materialism, there is no way we are not going to have societal insecurity. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the best way out, which inshallah will be our next petition in the future. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Brand new Alaja. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, my good brother. I thought you were exaggerating when you told me about excellent services of Hajj Mabrur Ventures. Shortly after we landed in the Holy Land, we were lodged in world-class hotel that is close to Haram. We were served with delicious meals twice a day. We journeyed to some holy and memorable places. The clerics tutored us with do's and don'ts of Hajj rite. There was no disappointment. We landed in Nigeria with our luggages. Hajj Mabrur Ventures is on top of its game.
I told you. Hajj Mabrur Ventures also help to process traveling to Andalusia in Spain and to Shanghai for excursion and agro-allied business. Umrah to Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem.
Visit Hajj Mabrur Ventures Limited, 9A, Wing 1 Abiodun Fashake Crescent, behind Old Lasso Campus, Idiroko Bus Stop, Ikorodu Road, and Suite 10, Tafabalewa Square. Telephone 0809-211-3680. Website hajmabruru.com. Simply hospitality, truly spirituality.
Adúpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run Ọba, a tọrọ kí àti ìgẹ̀ fún aṣáájú wa Muhammad sallam, kọ́lọ́ba tí ọlá ẹ̀kọ́ bá ní kẹ́kọ́ bá ní gẹ̀ òun àti ará ilé àgbẹ̀ tó dáadáa tẹ́lẹ̀ jẹ́ àkẹ́yàmọ̀ kọ́lọ́ sí àná kan nínú wọn. Pẹ̀lú ògo náà à ń tẹ̀síwájú ní abala ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin lórí ọ̀rọ̀ zakat calculation àbí zakatable items, àwọn nǹkan tí ó yẹ kí a gbà sàkálé lórí. Ní ìtìsíwájú, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sọ nínú suratu Araf aya 156, ó ní wa rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. Ó ní àánú mi, ìkẹ́ mi, mo fi kárí gbogbo nǹkan. Fasaktubuha lilladhina yattaqun wa yu'tuna zakah. Ó ní ṣùgbọ́n mo wá sọ di ọ̀ranyàn wípé inú àti mo gbọ́dọ̀ kẹ́ tó jẹ́ pé ọ̀ranyàn ni kò gbọ́dọ̀ mísì wọn, àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ olùbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run àtàwọn tí wọ́n ń yọ zakah walladhina bi ayatina yu'minun, àtàwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ olùgbàgbọ́ òdodo tí wọ́n gba gbogbo àwọn àyà Ọlọ́run subhanahu wa ta'ala gbọ́ nígbà tó ń sọ pé akimu salatu wa atu zakah, ẹ máa kírun ẹ máa yọ zakah. Wọ́n gbàgbọ́, wọ́n kírun, wọ́n yọ zakah. So ó wá di dandan kí Ọlọ́run àtàwọn kẹ́ àti mi àti kó ṣe àánú ẹni tí ó kẹ́ ní àkẹ́tán la hawla wala quwwa illa billah. Níbi tí a bọ́rọ̀ dé ní àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣe transport àti renters. Mo fẹ́ wo àwọn tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n ní school, a dẹ̀ fẹ́ gbé yẹ̀wò àwọn oní nǹkan oko àti oní nǹkan ọ̀sìn pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run. Ká mú látòrí ẹni tó bá ní school. Ní Nàìjíríà tó bá jẹ́ pé secondary school la ní ẹgbà mẹ́ta là ń sí iléèwé, first term, second term and third term. Ẹni tó bá jẹ́ pé owó rẹ̀ nígbà tí ó ná lọ tó ná bọ̀ ọ̀sán salary gbogbo àwọn consumables ọ̀sìn gbogbo ẹ̀ tán, ní currency ọ̀nà gbogbo àwọn nǹkan ẹ̀ tán, ó sì tún ní tó ṣẹ́kù ní àkáǹtì ẹ̀ tó ń lọ bí 1,453,528 naira 90 kobo tí a pè ní nìṣọ́ tó bá ní lọ́wọ́, yóò yọ ìdá kan nínú ogójì ńbẹ̀ tí ń jẹ́ bí 36,338 naira 25 kobo ní ó yọ ní orí rẹ̀. ṣùgbọ́n tí ó bá ní tó bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn tí ò ní tó 1.4 níbẹ̀ àbí tí ò tó fẹ́ lọ sórí silver 197,800 naira tí ò tó ní tó bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ok yóò ṣe sùúrù di táàmù ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì tó bá pé ní sọ́ọ̀bù ní táàmù ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì yóò sì ń torí ní ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì yẹn máa ń torí ní àkọ́kọ́ tó bá ti wọ ní sọ́ọ̀bù yóò yọ sàkálẹ̀ lórí tí ò bá tún wọ ní sọ́ọ̀bù yóò tún gbé lọ sí táàmù ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta tó bá gbé táàmù ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta yẹn tó bá jẹ́ pé nítorí ní táàmù alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ àtẹlẹ́kejì àti tó bá sì papọ̀ mọ́ra wọn iye tó bá jẹ́ tó bá tẹ̀lé wọ ní sọ́ọ̀bù yóò yọ sàkálẹ̀ ní orí zakat àwọn ní skul nìyẹn ní abala kan abala kejì tí wọ́n ní pé tó bá jẹ́ pé higher institution ló ní ẹ̀ẹ̀kan ni wọ́n ń sanwó tiẹ̀ lọ́dún irú àwọn wọ̀nyí iye tí wọ́n bá san lẹ́ẹ̀kan lọ́dún tó bá ń gbọ̀ ná gbogbo owó tán bẹ̀ náà tó yọ gbogbo àwọn ìnáwó rẹ̀ ní ọdún tán ní sẹ́mẹ́sítà méjèèjì tó dùjọ́ tán èyí tó bá ṣẹ́kù níbẹ̀ tó bá ti wọ ní sọ́ọ̀bù táwọn yẹn yóò yọ sàkà ní orí rẹ̀ kí a wá lọ sórí àwọn tó jẹ́ pé nǹkan ọ̀sìn àbí nǹkan oko ní tiwọn àwọn oní nǹkan oko ká mú látòrí grains gbogbo àwọn kan tó jẹ́ nǹkan oníhóró pátá tí èèyàn bá ti ní in tí ó tó bí wásàkì 5 gẹ́gẹ́ bí àníwá musa sáà sọ pé ẹni tó bá ti ní tó wásàkì 5 nínú àwọn nǹkan tí ó jẹ́ nǹkan oko bíi nǹkan oníhóró bíi àgbàdo bíi jéró bíi ọkà bàbà bíi ráìsì bíi ẹ̀wà tí a lè wọ̀n yẹn ń lọ bíi 1,200 múdù tá a máa ń wọ̀n tá a fi ń yọ jákà yẹn 1,200 ló ṣe déédéé 5 wasaks àbí 653 kilogram ìyẹn ń lọ bíi báàgì rice 50 bags bíi 13 àpò 13 tí èèyàn bá ti ní tó bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn zaka wọ̀ ìdá kan nínú ìdá mẹ́wàá òní tó bá jẹ́ pé kò lo irrigation wọ́n tó bá jẹ́ pé ó lo irrigation pé ó náwó sí i ó fi nǹkan wẹ́ẹ̀tì ẹ̀ ìdá kan nínú ìdá 20 òní yóò yọ zaka lé ní orí ìyẹn jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tá a bá lọ sórí nǹkan ọ̀sìn gẹ́gẹ́ bí àyà tó ń bẹ ní Quran 6 verse 141 tó ní wàá tẹ́lẹ̀ àgọ́ sọ́nbẹ̀ wípé àtú àkọ́ yọ máa sọ̀dì ìjọ tí ó bá kórè òun náà ni yóò yọ àwọn nǹkan gẹ́gẹ́ bí oní nǹkan oko ṣùgbọ́n oní nǹkan ọ̀sìn òun tiẹ̀ ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lórí ràkúnmí màálù àgùntàn ewúrẹ́ téèyàn bá ní àwọn nǹkan yìí zakawọ̀ wọn níjọ́ tí ràkúnmí ẹ̀ bá ti di 5 wàá yọ àgùntàn kan tó bá di 10 wàá yọ àgùntàn 2 ó di 15 wàá yọ àgùntàn 3 níjọ́ tó bá pé 20 wàá yọ àgùntàn 3 níjọ́ tí ó bá di pé ó pé 20 wàá yọ ọmọ ràkúnmí kan tó jẹ́ abo tí ó wọ ọdún kan kí ọlọ́mọ àti ọ̀la kó ṣàánú wa tó bá jẹ́ pé màálù ni níjọ́ bá ti wọ 30 wàá yọ ọmọ màálù tó parí ọdún kan tí ó wọ ọdún kejì níjọ́ tí ó bá ti tó 40 ọmọ màálù tó wọ ọdún kejì ọdún kẹta tó ti pé ọdún méjì ni wàá yọ so bí ó bá ti ń bẹ lórí 30 yóò mọ̀ yọ lọ́dún méjì tó bá ń bẹ lórí 40 yóò mọ̀ yọ lọ́dún mẹ́ta bí ó sì máa kà ní ẹ̀ títí máa jẹ́ pé àgùntàn ni lórí 40 lónà tibẹ̀ tó bá ti pé 40 yóò yọ ẹyọ kan ní ibẹ̀ tó jẹ́ abo lórí 50 títí tí èdè 80 yóò yọ méjì lórí 100 ló máa yọ ẹyọ kọ̀ọ̀kan tó bá di pé ó tó 101 yóò yọ méjì tó bá lọ bí 201 yóò mọ̀ yọ mẹ́ta bí ó sì máa yọ ẹyọ kọ̀ọ̀kan lórí 100 nìyẹn títí tí yóò fi jẹ́ pé ọyọ sàká gbogbo àwọn nǹkan ọ̀sìn rẹ̀ kí ọlọ́run àtọ́ra kó ṣe mí àti ẹ̀yin ní ẹni tí yóò ní tí ó lè yọ sàká tí ọlọ́run ó sì ṣe ìkẹ́ rẹ̀ di ọ̀ràn yẹn fún níhìn ayé àti níjọ́ ọ̀gbìn alkiyama aqulu qawli hadha astaghfirullahi wa lakum. Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Zakat and Sadaqah Foundation ló ní lára ohun tí màá kú fẹ̀dá lẹ́yìn tá a bá papòdà tán níṣẹ́ olóore tí ládàá rẹ̀ jẹ́ kẹrin kése Sadaqatu Jariyah ìkànrú ẹ̀ ní ètò wákfù nínú ètò wákfù ẹ̀ ó yọ̀ọ̀da àwọn dúkìá kẹ̀jẹ̀kẹ̀jẹ̀ bíi ilé ilẹ̀ àwọn irinṣẹ́ ńláńlá àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ fún iṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run Ọba àlékè ọlá tí àjọ Zakat and Sadaqah Foundation ó sì máa fi owó tó bá ń yọ lórí àwọn dúkìá wọ̀nyí ṣe iṣẹ́ olóore bíi kíkọ́ ilé ìwòsàn mọ́sálásí gbígbé kàngádẹ̀rọ ìpèsè àwọn ohun amáyédẹrùn fún gbogbo mùtúmùwà ọ̀nà kejì tá a tún lè fi ṣe wákfù ní mímọ́ dá ó kéré tán ẹgbẹ̀rún kan náírà 1,000 naira sí ọ̀dọ̀ àjọ Zakat and Sadaqah Foundation tí wọ́n sì kó gbogbo owó yìí papọ̀ fi ra dúkìá kẹrin kése tí yóò máa jẹ́ ládàá láíláí fún yín bí ìzìnìlá fún àlàyé kíkún ẹ kàn sí àjọ Zakat and Sadaqah Foundation ní nọ́mbà 10 Tafawa Balewa Square telephone 08035382911 ètò wákfù ní ipò àlùbáríkà sórí dúkìá tí fi di ládàá kẹrin kése.
هذا القرآن يوحدنا لطريق الخير يوجهنا الله تعالى أنزله ورسول الله معلمنا هذا القرآن يوحدنا لطريق الخير يوجهنا